Shank here at CPI Training Center. I'm going to do another video about laboratory faucets. And in a residential faucet or setup, you generally have, we talked about the actual faucet itself, and we talked about replacing a P-trap, but you could also replace your pop-up. So when you pull this up and down, this lever pushes up and down and seals the actual, so you could fill up the water and seals the bowl. So what we're going to talk about here over on this table is how do you replace this and how this all goes together so it's a little easier to see. So basically what you see here is all the parts that go on. This is the part that sits underneath your drain in your cabinet. And then all you normally see is the top part that is above the sink that you're staring at. All this is happening underneath the faucet. So as you can see, you got a seal here with a gasket and a nut that actually tightens up and makes this a water seal tight for the lavatory bowl. Everything else underneath is going to help you with this pop-up. So on normal ones that have pop-ups, you have this nut that is just, again, a compression nut. A lot of the plumbing is compression. And then there's also a little plastic, what they call ferrule, that makes the seal when you put all this together. So underneath your sink, you already have this. Underneath the lavatory, you already have this. And what's happening underneath there is you have this ball that sits in there and moves up and down. The other piece of this, which is on top, is the stopper. That's what goes up and down. In order to make this go up and down, you put this in, and there's a hole on this that lines up with that. So if you put it in sideways, you're not going to be able to see it. So you got to kind of line it up a little bit better, get it in there. This inserts, and as this moves up and down, you can see that it actually pops up and allows water to go down or stops the water from going down. So when you deal with this, if you notice, when it's down, this arm is all the way up. So if you're going to replace this and put in a new arm and deal with this, you want to make sure when you do it, it's up. You're going to attach everything else to it, and then when you pull that up, you know it'll go down for you and drain. So long story short, we have this in, we have it lined up. If we're going to do this correctly, we're going to insert this. And again, this is all done underneath the sink, so it's a little bit more complicated when you do it. You got your nut and your gasket. You tighten that up. Usually hand tight works pretty well. You may have to put a pair of pliers or channel locks on it to tighten up to keep it from dripping, but most of the time hand tight works well. So you can see it's down. This is the correct position. You want this facing down. That's showing that it's up. The next part that actually goes on is that you want to go back up to the top of the sink, drop this down. What this does is eventually going to connect. So the last piece we have to put together is, as this is dropping down through the faucet, you drop this down and it usually sets. That makes the connection, and then you're going to line it up with an appropriate hole. It could be this one, the second, the third, or fourth one. We're going to go with the second one. So as you pull this up, it causes it to close. As you push down, it pushes that arm down and it opens up. How all this connects is you have a couple different varieties, or a couple different ways to do this. You have a clip that needs to go first on the inside of this. Then with your appropriate hole that you figured out, you slide that onto the hole. And then the clip goes on the back side, and that holds it in place. The last part is to adjust this height up and down. You have this nut up here. You tighten that up. This one you generally want to do with a pair of pliers or channel locks, just so it doesn't always move. Some people pull on these pretty hard, push on pretty hard. So you want to make sure that's tight so it doesn't move. So once you have all that set, as they pull up, that'll do that. As you pull down, push down, it opens up the drain. So you could buy replacement parts for all of this that we just talked about through here, all the way up through here, or you could buy this whole drain body and replace that also. So there's a couple different varieties. Stay tuned for any other questions you may have about plumbing and your lavatory faucets at CPI.